Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Ghoul Friend Hour. I'm your host, Morgan Feza. And today I have a special guest, one of my BFFs, Megan Crouch. She's going to kind of talk to us a little bit today about her experiences with the supernatural. And then we're kind of just going to, I guess, just deep dive and kind of explore, some fun stories and just get spooky. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to you, Megan.
Thanks, girl. Thank you so much for having me on, first and foremost. It's an honor. I've been
Yay.
listening to the past few episodes. You've been doing so good. I love the true crime episode. I was so into it. I can't wait for tomorrow. So, congratulations. You've been doing awesome.
Thank you.
Of course. So, like I was telling Morgan, I took notes because my ADHD sometimes has me bouncing off the walls. But basically, what I wanted to talk to you about today was an interaction that I had with my former best friend. And when I say best friend, I don't mean like I only knew her for a couple years. Our moms were best friends. We grew up together. We had been best friends. We're just a couple months apart. Our whole life, we had been just like super close. We considered each other sisters. So,
Mhm.
yeah, that's who I'm going to be talking about today. I'll just refer to her as Ray just to keep it simple. But she was my best friend. For those who don't know, I've been in Delaware for about 4 years now, but I'm from Tennessee, where she lives. And I go back and forth like every couple months. I'll go down there and hang out and then come back here. But so I had been up here in Delaware, but of course we were still keeping in touch. And she got married to this guy, and I'll refer to him as Dan. And we loved Dan. Me and my husband loved Dan. He was a really good guy. He was in the military, and my husband has been in the military for 20 years. So we just instantly hit it off really well. Like when we would be in town, we would do double dates. When I got pregnant with my son, she had just had a little girl. So we really bonded over that. Just really close, and they were really good people. He's originally from Romania. So he had a trip planned in January of 2020 to go back to Romania to visit with his family, who all still lived there. And due to COVID, he ended up getting stuck there for like 4 months.
Yeah.
So when he finally got back, I was in Delaware, and my best friend called me, and she was like, I don't know what, can I cuss on here, or should I keep
Oh,
it PG?
yeah. We drop the F bomb all the time. Go ahead.
Okay, perfect. She was like, I don't know what the fuck happened to him. She was like, but this is a different man. She was
Wait,
like,
isn't Romania where like the original like Count Dracula is from?
yes, like they have a lot of really weird spiritual stuff that goes on there, like some really weird shit.
Oh.
So immediately when I heard he was trapped there, honestly, to be honest with you, it didn't even enter my head, to be completely honest. I was like, okay, that's crazy. He's trapped there. I feel bad for him, but at least he's with family, whatever.
Yeah.
Well, she was calling me like every day, just crying. And she was like, he's different. Like, I don't know how to explain it. She was like, this is a different man. She was like, he even looks different. He talks different. He's acting different. She was like, I don't know what the fuck happened. And I suggested maybe did he meet someone? Like I was just trying to throw all possibilities out there. But she was like, no, like something weird is going on, like he was replaced or something. So I was like, okay.
Oh.
Yeah, she was like, this is not the man that I've been married to for 5 years. She was like, this is a stranger. She told me that basically he had been, since he had gotten back, locking himself in his office for hours, sleeping in there, not letting anyone go in there. She said he didn't eat anymore. He didn't even drink water anymore, that he just literally
They
looked
turned
horrible.
him. I'm
Yeah,
convinced that like vampires are real.
girl, it was something because it just, even the things that she was saying he was doing were weird. Like he was staying in his office, never coming out. He lost his job and everything. Like he had a work from home job. He somehow lost that.
What?
So yeah, she was like, this man is different. And I had been planning a trip back to Tennessee. So I was like, just stay. just chill. I'll be there, in a few weeks. And maybe I didn't know how bad it truly was. I mean, there's only so much you can like figure out over the phone. But she was like, no, like you're going to see he's totally a different person. So I planned my trip back to Tennessee and I went over there to hang out like I always do. When I go to Tennessee, I would usually stay at her house, like, a couple of nights. I would just pack like a bag to stay the night and stay over there. But this time I had my son with me, who was 3 months old at the time. So immediately when I arrived, like I don't know how to explain it to you, Morgan, but I felt like a darkness. Like even talking about it, like I'm getting goosebumps because it felt just so dark. Like the energy felt so dark and the house looked dark and I don't know how to explain it. Like everything was
No, I know what
off.
you're saying. Because I mean, when something, so for listeners that are not familiar with like evil, there is a lot of dynamics that you'll see change, especially if there's oppression or like I guess what they would call like infestation going on. Like you'll notice that even with like your curtains open, the house just isn't as sunny, and there's like a heaviness that you could probably cut with a knife. Like there's a lot of very like tangible attributes to when there is like an evil infestation inside of a home. So just so people who, maybe aren't as familiar, but once you feel that, and we were actually just talking about this on a podcast episode I did yesterday, about when you experience evil, there's nothing like it. Like when you see it firsthand, you'll never, 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 never ever experience anything like that again. And like you'll know the difference between what's human and inhuman. So yeah, so proceed. I didn't mean to digress, but just so our
No, I a
listeners can kind
hundred,
of.
yes, I 100% agree because, I've had my whole life kind of weird things happen, spiritual things happen, but I never felt this feeling before. Like this feeling, I mean, just like you said, like it was just a darkness. So immediately when I got there, usually, I mean, we were close. We had all been best friends for pretty much 5 years. So usually he would come out, greet me. That was his first time meeting my son. So naturally, I would have thought he would have been excited, running out, giving us hugs, welcoming us. Didn't see him. He stayed in his little office. It was just weird and it felt dark and she looked horrible. Like I hate to say that, but she looked awful. She looked like she weighed about 80 pounds.
Oh my God.
She looked very gaunt. She looked tired, exhausted. And of course she had a toddler, so of course you're going to be tired, but this was just like a totally, totally different thing.
Yeah.
So finally we sat there and talked for a little bit and he finally came out of his room, his office, and I saw what she saw. He looked evil. Like that's the only way I can describe it. Like his eyes were like not, he usually had blue, like bright blue eyes. His eyes were like black.
Oh.
Yes, like he had like white, wide skin. Like it just was weird. Like he looked so, so different. And he acted like he didn't even know who I was. Like it was just weird. Like I will never forget that. Like he acted like he did not even know me. He did not say hi to me. He did not come over to meet my son. He basically walked out of his little room, locked it, like he locked it and left the house completely. And she looked at me and she was just like, that's like, now you see what I'm talking about. And I was like, what's been going on? Like, now that he's out of the house, can you like tell me a little bit more about what's been happening? And that's when she opened up to me about some of the stuff that had been happening. She had been waking up in the middle of the night being choked. Um, she had been being shoved from behind. She
And
even
not
had
from him. This is from something that was unseen, is what I'm
yes,
gathering. Okay.
yes, this was not from him. This was from a force or a spirit. She opened up her phone and she showed me pictures of his office. And like my heart's racing even thinking about it because the only way I can describe it is like it did look like, I don't know, like a shrine. Like it was dark in there. All the windows were covered. There was books piled up everywhere, papers piled up everywhere, and it was just dark. No light
Oh, girl, you're
at all.
making my chest tighten up. I'm like, I'm like scared to hear what you're gonna say next because I mean that sounds dark and everything is fitting. You
It,
know what I've learned even from professionals on here. I mean, somebody that and I want to say, was it Ralph Sart? I talked so somebody that I talked to, and I believe they had a demonology background. I remember one person talking about the eyes. Um, and it may have been Ralph Sarchie. I don't know if it was on the podcast or when we were on the phone, but I remember when I was talking to this person, they said that yeah, I think it was Ralph Sarchie. He said something about there was a woman, I think, and he said she was very beautiful, like very attractive. And he said, you know, she had like light eyes and everything. And he said when they showed up to do and like handle this case, her eyes were completely different. And he said the woman that was standing in front of them was not the woman that they had been sent like footage and pictures of. They said that her face and everything had drastically changed, like similar. I don't know if she had green eyes or blue eyes, but she had light eyes and they were like dark. And I was like, that is the craziest thing. So to hear you say that, I mean, that's terrifying. I can't imagine what your friend is like feeling.
I felt so, so bad for her because, like I said, they had this little girl together, the sweetest little girl. But also, I'm going to say, I also noticed changes in her as well. Like, she was no longer once like the bubbly, I mean, she was almost 2 at the time. So, you know how 2-year-olds are. She was
Yeah.
not like that bubbly, happy little girl anymore. She basically just sat in a corner and watched TV the whole day. Like we would try to interact with her and she would scream. Like she wanted absolutely nothing to do with anyone. No one, not even her mom.
That's
So
terrible.
it is. But yeah, so like she just opened up to me about stuff that had been happening. She even mentioned like some earrings that she had always put in the same spot every single day, like for, the past 5 years. She said they're missing. I don't know where they are. My grandfather gave me these earrings. They're very special. I would never lose them. I would never misplace them. They're up far away, where the little girl didn't get them. She was like, I don't know where they are. Like they're just gone. Um, so yeah, it was just really weird. She also mentioned that she had been hearing screaming, like screaming in the middle of the night, like every night that she would hear just like screeching. Like she compared it to me as like people being tortured. And where
Gosh.
they live, just to put it in a little bit of perspective for people, like it wasn't a neighborhood. Like in Tennessee, there's not really many suburbs. Pretty much everyone has like several acres of land. So the nearest neighbor to her probably would have been half a mile away. A lot of open land, a lot of like old Indian burial grounds, stuff like that. It's right on the Trail of Tears. So yeah, she said that she had just every single night religiously after midnight, she would just hear like screams from the distance getting closer and closer. And
Wow.
it was like freaking me out at this point. At this point, I'm like, okay, whatever.
Well,
I'm,
yeah, because I mean, I mean, I don't want to like throw the term around loosely, but if it is, I'm just gonna say the D word because I don't like saying the hard D. I'm
I know,
like,
I
but
know.
I mean, if it is something of that nature, I mean, that's like worst case scenario. So like to think that that's kind of what you're up against, I mean, that's terrifying.
Yeah, it was. And as we're sitting there talking, like she's on the couch here and I'm on like the love seat across from her. Out of the corner of my eye, I see like a dark figure like sprint across out of the corner of my eye. And I look at her and I'm like I'm not trying to freak you out, but I swear I think I just saw something out of the corner of my eye. And she just turned like white as a ghost and she was like, "Yeah, I see that like 100 times a day." She was like, that's nothing new to me. So at this point, I'm like, I don't know if I want to stay here. Like, I want to support my friend. I want to be a good friend, but like at the same time, I'm feeling really dark. I don't really want to be here anymore. Um, and around that time, he came back home and he goes into his office, locks the door, and then he comes out about 10 minutes later and he's like, I know you guys have been talking shit. And then he just turns around and walks back in. And it was like so weird. Like I will
Oh,
never forget when he said that. He was like, I know you guys have been talking shit. It's fine. And just walked
but
back in and
like,
slammed the door.
mm, I would be
Really,
like,
really
listen here, Damon. Like, you,
right. Girl, I wanted to leave so bad. And I even told her, I was like, is there any way we can leave and like go stay the night with my mom? And she was like, no, I can't leave. She was like, he will flip out on me. He will possibly hurt me and possibly hurt our daughter. And she was like, please stay with me, please. She was like, you can leave like first thing in the morning. She was like, but please stay the night with me. She was like, I'm like begging you to. So of course I did. Um, and another thing that I just want to keep saying is I did have my 3-month-old son with me. So
yeah. That's what I
like
was
that,
just thinking. Like, I'm like, it's one thing if it's just you, but like to have your child with you, because I know like my first instinct would be like I can do this, but like I am not gonna kind of, you know what I'm saying? Like I don't want to have my child there because it's like a helpless feeling, like
exactly. And like as we know, children are more like
susceptible.
susceptible to, things happening. But I told her I would stay. I told her I was not going to sleep. I was like, we are sitting here in this living room all night. And first thing in the morning, like we're leaving. So just the vibe was off all night. We did stay up around 3 a.m. A security alarm went off in her house. It scared the shit out of me. Around 4 a.m., I got my son and I left. I was like, I can't do this anymore. I was like, this is really freaking me out. I love you. I want to be a supportive friend. Like, you're like my sister. You're more than welcome to come with me. I will even get you a hotel. Like, if you don't want to stay with my mom, I totally get it. I was like, but I cannot stay in this house anymore. I was like, I feel darkness. Like, I don't want to be here anymore at all.
Yeah.
So I left, got my son's diaper back, and just rolled out. Went back to my mom's house, stayed there. And while I was there, I realized that I had left my duffel bag, just like a little overnight bag with, like an outfit, toothbrush, hairbrush, all that. I realized I had left it there. So I called her and she was not answering. I texted her and I said, look, I left my duffel bag there. Is there any way I can get that back? And she texted me and was like, basically leave me like she was like basically telling me to fuck off, that she didn't want to talk to me anymore. That she felt like I was trying to get her to leave her husband and that I was being a bad friend for not wanting to stay and that she didn't want to talk to me anymore. And I was like really hurt by this because I was like, this whole time I had been trying to help her and I wasn't trying to get her to leave her husband. I was just trying to make sure, that she was safe.
Well, just get her out of the environment. That's
Exactly. And
crazy.
yeah, and I did tell her that I would be willing to like help her because in that time when he was gone and she was talking to me, she opened up to me about how he had been getting more violent lately, about how his fuse would be really short, how he would start screaming at her and then start crying. And I did tell her, I was like, I will pay for a divorce for you. I was
Yeah.
like, I love you so much. I don't want to see you in this. Like, I will do whatever it takes to get you out of this. I will pay for a divorce like attorney and I will get you out of this. You can come live with me in Delaware if you want. And basically that next day she was like, I told him everything you said. He's not happy with you. He hates you. I'm upset with you. Like it was like a switch
But
flipped.
that
Like
but
it was
that
so
sounds
weird.
like unfortunately it seems like when you left he pounced on her vulnerability, which is really scary. And I mean, if you think about it, and I know that me and you are both kind of into very similar backgrounds with the supernatural and whatnot. I mean, one of the things that you learn, especially about the demonic, is that they're very deceitful and they prey upon the perfect opportunity to isolate and I mean that they're predatory. That's what it is. They're very much
Absolutely.
predatory. So like I mean it's very standard textbook predatory behavior. So that's what it sounds like. It sounds like the minute that you left, because I think you probably would have been the only voice of reason that probably would have broken through. And that's probably where his irritation with you being there came from.
100%. That's what I think. And it was so bizarre. And I was hurt. Like I was so upset, but went on with the day, whatever, didn't think anything. I tried not to think anything of it. Of course, it was hard after everything that had happened the night before. The next day, I woke up to my duffel bag being on my mom's front porch, but there was like some things that were missing. My hairbrush wasn't in there. My toothbrush
Oh
wasn't in there.
no.
I know. Um,
No.
yeah, my hairbrush wasn't in there. My toothbrush wasn't in there, and like one of my t-shirts wasn't in there. But I was like, I tried not to think the worst, but of course, just always like kind of knowing about this kind of stuff, I'm like, great, great. He fucking is gonna put a spell on me. I was like, this is not, I was like, this is not good at all. But tried to be positive, tried not to freak out. I was in Tennessee for like 3 more days. And those next 3 days were just like hell. Like my mom's dog got killed. My grandfather got really sick. Like it was just like a bunch of really weird coincidences that happened, just weird, weird stuff that happened. So, shit, I was scared to get on the flight at this point. I was like, I'm scared the damn flight's gonna go down. I was like, I am terrified. I'm like, I don't know what is going on. So I get back to Delaware. Of course, my husband, for those who don't know, he's like a huge skeptic. He doesn't believe any of this. He's a huge skeptic. So I tried telling him what happened, and even he was freaked out because he's known Dan for 5 years, and he was like I'm like I want to beat his ass. Like that is not okay. That is not normal, and that is not him. And so got back to Delaware, and like I feel like something maybe followed me or something happened because for the next probably 6 weeks I had like nothing but just absolutely dark, bad things happen to me. Um, every single night, my son was still sleeping beside me at the time, like in the bassinet. Every single night from 3 to 4, he would scream nonstop. Like nothing would console him. I would be, rocking him, holding him, trying to feed him. Nothing would console him at all. He would just be screaming nonstop. One day a bottle, like I had his bottle sitting on the nightstand beside me, and it just flew across the room, like just flung across the room. And progressively things started getting like stronger and stronger and stronger. Like I felt my hair get like yanked one day. And as I was saying earlier, that's when I was telling you before we got on here, I reached out to my hairdresser who is very spiritual. She's very like in tune with this kind of stuff. And she came over to my house. She saged it. Um, she told me what to say. She told me if I felt like a dark energy that I need to yell, like, I do not want you here. You are not welcome in my house. I like want you to leave. And in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, I command you to leave my house. I do not want you here. So the next time that I had something weird happen, I did that. And after that, like I didn't have any weird things happen around here anymore.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, like things only got worse with my friend. I didn't hear from her for several months. She finally did reach back out to me about probably like 6 months to a year later. And she let me know that they had separated, which I was very happy for. But unfortunately, he was getting her daughter on like every other weekend. He moved in with this other guy. And she told me this guy was like super sketchy, super weird. And she told me that her daughter was coming home with bruises and burns on her. So in my head, I'm like, why are you letting her, go back over? Like, if that was happening to my son, he's not going back over there. And I'm contacting the police in
Oh
DC.
yeah.
Like, no. So, long story short, that's why me and her to this day are no longer friends because I felt like she was sending her daughter over there so that she could have a break. But as she was sending her daughter over there, I feel like bad things were happening to her. And like, I just, I can't be friends with someone who allows stuff like that to happen. And I did contact, unfortunately, Child Protective Services because I
No,
felt,
fortunately, because that little
oh yeah,
girl, I mean,
well, unfortunately, they did absolutely nothing, but
yeah, but
I did
that's
try.
fortunately that's the nature of the beast, I feel like with them sometimes.
Yeah, 100%. But it's sad. They did nothing. I knew exactly where she would be. I knew she was moving July 1st, and I told the social worker that, and they didn't get there in time, so they could never track down where she was. And I haven't talked to her since. I haven't talked to her since June 2021.
Yeah. That honestly is like, because I was gonna ask, if they ever got help, because there is like in a situation like that. So Chris McKinnell, who I had on my podcast, he runs the Warren Legacy Foundation. That would have been a perfect scenario because they provide free help to families in need like that. Whether, I mean, it really just any kind of spiritual help that they would need. That's kind of why it's there. It's to help people in those situations. So um
Yeah,
that's
it's
sad
really
though.
unfortunate. It is. It's really, really unfortunate. I have talked to like a couple other people about this, and like I don't know what happened to him when he went to Romania. Like I don't know what changed, but something happened when he was there for, that extended period of time. And he was never, I don't know what happened. I don't know if he was possessed. Um, I don't know if he just like started dabbling in dark things and something attached to him. I don't know. But he was not the same,
Yeah.
because I cannot stress enough that this guy was such a good guy. Like we loved him. Like he was an amazing dad, an amazing person, an amazing husband. Like I was even envious at times of their relationship, because they just seemed so, before all this happened, obviously, they just seemed so like, perfect. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know what happened, and I would love to know more of what maybe happened, but I will never probably reach out to her again. I don't see like any world where we ever talk again.
Well, and I mean that's really sad, especially for like how close you guys were. But in the same aspect, you have to protect yourself. And I mean, I don't know what else to say besides like, I mean, I think 100% you did the right thing, because I mean, it's one thing if somebody, I mean, I don't know, like you said, what happened over in Romania. And I know that your friend didn't really choose that lifestyle, but there were choices made along the way and decisions made along the way. And they would have, I really feel like, jeopardized your health, your sanity, physical, emotional, mental well-being. So unfortunately, I do, fortunately and unfortunately, I think it was kind of God's way of closing a door on a really bad situation that probably you and nobody else could have helped without some serious professional intervention. So as much as it sucks, and listen, I'll be the first to say a friend breakup is
Yeah,
worse than any breakup, divorce. Like
a
i
hundred
would take
percent.
i would take a divorce over a friend breakup. It
No one talks about how hard friend breakups are, but they are so fucking hard.
They're really hard because those are your
Yeah,
people. I mean, when
right.
you it listen, when you find your husband or your wife or your partner, and yeah, like they become pretty much like an attached limb, like that's your person. But there's just something, and I've said this to my husband before, there's just something about your person, your best friend, that just nobody can take that place. And they're the person that has probably seen your butthole before anybody else has in this life. Like,
A
I always
hundred,
used to
yeah,
joke, I'm like, I would not even let my husband see my butthole, but my best friend has definitely waxed my ass at some point. Like, so
exactly.
like there's just a different level there of emotional connection. and spiritual connection. And like that hurts worse than I think any other kind of breakup. So, I
Yeah,
mean, I'm sorry that you had to go through that because, like, I think I can safely say that at least one in probably three women around the world have faced some sort of like serious friend breakup, and they're terrible. They hurt. And you never know. Like, I wouldn't say never, because there may come a time where maybe she'll being away from all of that, and maybe there there may come a point where she doesn't have any spiritual influence on her, and she may kind of come out of this daze or whatever she's going through, and you guys may be able to find that center of gravity again where you both mesh well, and you were, not quite who you were before, but a
right.
new potential. But
Yeah,
I
it
think this was kind of God's way of stepping in and saying, listen, like, I know that you're going to keep trying every avenue, and like, I have to close the door for you because you're treading dangerous waters here.
exactly. And like, just speaking of like the whole how I felt like his eyes were dark, and we were talking about how that's such like a common occurrence in, when people possibly get possessed or have dark entities attached. Have you ever seen someone's eyes turn like that? Because it's truly like it's bizarre. I never seen it before.
So, I talked about this in a previous episode. There is one time that I ever experienced evil, and it still sticks with me to this day, and it was a dream. But I truly believe that when you're sensitive, you're very prone to, I don't really know what to call myself. I still haven't figured out, I guess, what I am, because I feel like I have different abilities. I'm sensitive to different things, but I do feel like because of those sensitivities, I've been attacked multiple times. But this was the one time that I was like genuinely afraid, because I felt like I didn't have control over the situation. And it was a dream that I had when I was younger. um Literally the day that Insidious came out and I saw it, I literally was like, holy shit, this is the perfect scene to describe what I saw in my dream. And it literally felt like, and this was years and years and years before Insidious even came out, but it just like nothing could ever capture what I had experienced. And it was like I laid down to go to sleep, but I never, like, how sometimes you toss and you turn, you have to like fall asleep. It
Mhm.
felt like I laid down and like I woke back up. And when I got up, my house, it was my still where I fell asleep, my living room and everything. But when I fell asleep, like my grandparents, like they had these two lights over the fireplace that were on. It was like, just dim lights. And like they were having their like, little evening snacks, watching their sitcoms or whatever. And I was like getting ready for bed, and just kind of that's where I slept. I slept in the living room because I was afraid to be upstairs. And I had very good reason to. So I literally laid down, popped back up, and I was like, wow, like I feel like I wasn't like sleeping at all. And like, so I was like, huh. And like when I got up, my house was like a very like almost like blue hour. Like it was a really like gray blue. And I was like, oh, okay, this is weird. And I remember like we were in the living room, and it was like me and my aunt, and it was like a normal, I don't know how to describe it. It was like a normal Sunday evening, but there was just something different about it. Like it just felt off. And then when I like looked forward, then I looked back, everybody but my aunt was gone. I was like, okay, like, and I was like, maybe I'm dreaming. Like, I'm like, this has got to be a dream. And in my dream, I'm like saying this. And so as I'm sitting there and I'm kind of just processing, my aunt is sitting on the couch behind me, and like, ugh, I hate this part because it literally makes my whole spine like run cold. I saw like we lived in like, it wasn't like mid-century modern, but it was definitely still very 60s. and like the staircase, you couldn't see anything but the landing because it was a wall. So like there was like two steps, a landing, and then you could see a little bit like as it was going up, and there was like a hall light that was at the top of the stairs and then at the bottom. So like if I was going up, I'd flick the light on, walk up, turn it off upstairs. So I'm sitting there and the light comes on. And like what was weird was that that part of the hall was the only thing that was normal color. So like it was just like I remember looking at the light and I was like, what the heck? And so then I look at my aunt and she's like, that's weird. And then I look back and I hear this like sing-songy voice and it was like, Morgan. And like my just everything was just like terrified. Like, and I just, it wasn't like anything super spooky or super crazy, but it was the tone. It was, there was just something behind it that was like malicious. So I started to kind of like walk over to the stairs and my aunt's behind me. And I remember I looked up the stairs. And at the time, my grandparents, my aunt were raising me because my mom was not in the picture. And I think at this time, I want to say she was in jail, maybe. So like she wouldn't have been there at all. So I look up the stairs and she's standing there like plain as day. And she just was like trying to beckon me to like come up the stairs, but something in my gut was like, that's not my mom. Like something felt off about it. And like the young part of me like wanted to run to her and be like that's my mom. But then there was something that like intuition was like that's something bad. And my aunt, I remember in the dream, she was like, Morgan, she's like, I could hear the fear in her voice. She's like, that's not your mom. And she was like, come on. And like, then she all of a sudden just disappeared. Like, whatever this was, it just vanished her. And so here I am, like, standing by myself. And I was like, I just remember in my dream, this, whatever this thing was like trying to convince me that it was my mom. And the more that I started to really doubt it, and I was like, this is not my mom, it started to get like nastier and like angrier. And then when it actually showed what its face was, that is something I will never forget. Like literally, you can see I have goosebumps right now because
I have goosebumps. Like, this is crazy.
it freaks me out every time I tell the story. So like I look I look back after my aunt vanished. I look back up the stairs and she I don't even know what to describe. I just remember the biggest thing for me was she had no eyes. Her eyes had completely disappeared. They were hollowed out black and the voice changed and it just got nasty. And it was like, you're coming with me. And I was like, no, I'm not. And so like I literally grabbed onto the wall and it just felt like I was just like on a treadmill. Like I was just feet on the carpet doing whatever I could to keep myself from being pulled up these stairs. And I remember getting closer and I just squeezed my eyes closed and I was just praying. And I was like, please help me out of this. Like, please, God, like, just like I was tiny. I couldn't fight back. And I was trying so hard to get away from this thing. And I was like, this, like at that point, like I was like, this thing wants to kill me. I don't know what it is, but like, this is not my mom. It's going to kill me if I get up there. And like, I was so scared. And then before I know it, it just like, I was like, you are not taking me. And I just like pushed and I got away. It like, I fell to the floor, was able to be like, no. And I remember, and this is a part that gets fuzzy because I don't remember exactly what it said, but it was something to the extent of it was like you're not going to run forever. Like I'm coming back for you. Like you're not getting away from me. And I was like, yes, I am. Like I was like kind of like you hold no power here and you're not going to scare me. Like I was terrified, but I like refused to go with whatever this was. And it that was the one time that I was terrified. But the scarier part was that when that happened, I snapped up out of my dream and I knew for sure like I was awake this time and I was in my sleeping bag. And it was like as soon as I sat up and I snapped out of this, I heard something run down the hall. Like it sounded like something because like I lived in an old house. So like I knew every creaky point when somebody was coming down the stairs, when you hit mid hallway, something ran from the top of the stairs and I listened to it where
Oh
like
my
straight
God.
down. And it was that was like the moment where I was like, okay, I knew I wasn't crazy for being afraid. And like they always thought, like, oh, it's just kid stuff. It's just she doesn't want to be upstairs in her room. And I'm like, no, I always knew that there was something up there. I still to this day have no idea what it is, but I lived with it for years. And I had two evil eyes on my door. I blessed my room. Like it was it's still there. It's still there because when I packed up that house and I said goodbye, Maisie saw it twice. And I know
Oh
my
my God.
godchildren were always talking about being afraid of the upstairs. My cousins, when they were younger, talked about being afraid of the upstairs. And I was like, before I left that house, the very last thing I did is I was like, you don't have power here anymore. I was like, you're not going to scare my daughter. And I'm not a child anymore, and you're not going to scare me.
Yeah.
And I was like, you're not going to scare the new family that comes in here. Like, you're done. And I was like, you're gone. And literally, I kid you not, Megan, I heard that same thing run across the stairs upstairs. And
Oh
I
my
was just
God.
like, yeah. And I can't even make this up. Like,
No, I believe you. Like I have goosebumps right now because I truly do believe that evil can manifest itself in animals, just like like what people consider skinwalkers. I feel like that's exactly it. Like it can mask itself as someone you love, but then there's like something tiny different that it's not that person you
that's
love.
off. Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly. So that is terrifying. Like, and kids, when you said Macy did see it, like kids
Yeah.
do see stuff like that. They're very susceptible to stuff.
Yeah.
Very susceptible.
That honestly, like that moment, I don't think I've ever gotten more like scary angry. Like I'm like if anyone's going to be scared in this motherfucking house, it's going to be this whatever this thing is because I'm like you're not going to mess with my kid. And like
Oh, right.
I was like I will get real National Geographic in here. Like I was like I'm not playing today. I not when it comes to my family and my domain. And that's why like when it comes to your four walls, the best advice that I can give, and I mean I'm in a disclaimer. I'm not a demonologist. I'm still learning. I'm still kind of finding my way around the supernatural. I just know what I've experienced. But when it comes to standing your ground and protecting your domain, I mean, you have to do it. Oh, that Mason. He's so
But I
cute.
100% agree. And that's why sometimes I have like guilt about that situation, like not immediately taking my son and getting the fuck out of there. Like I know that's
Well,
what I
you were
should have done.
torn. You
I
were
was so
torn.
torn. I was
There's
so,
nothing to
so
feel
torn.
guilty about. I mean, like if that was my like I mean, it's like your sister. If that was like my sister, I mean, I would do anything like whether I had to stay there and protect her or whatever I had to do. I mean, I probably would have done the same thing, honestly. Like I don't think there's any guilt that you have to have. Don't
I
worry about don't worry about Mason. No,
I am so sorry.
don't be sorry.
But yeah, like when you were saying about being in your sleep, I've had sleep paralysis. I don't know. I've only had it happen once. It was in my parents' basement. Like how you said you felt a darkness upstairs. For us, there was a darkness in that basement. And I was sleeping down there one day, and I don't know how to describe it, but like I was being pinned to the bed. Like I could see, I was looking around the room. I could not scream, but I could see everything. And I just remember trying to like push whatever was pinning me down off. And I was terrified to sleep for like weeks after that because I had never had anything happen to me like that before. And I even started taking Ambien for a little while because I was just so terrified. And that's a whole
Yeah.
other thing that we'll have to talk about another time because I feel like some of these drugs really open you up to like seeing very scary, like paranormal things. I feel like it like thins the veil so much and makes you very, very susceptible, even alcohol.
Well, what's weird that you say that. So me and my mother-in-law, we talk about like I'm like my poor husband and my father-in-law, like we probably drive them crazy, but we always talk about like our supernatural experiences. And she told me that the only time that she had like a really really scary experience was when she's always had trouble sleeping, so she took her doctor prescribed some sort of probably something similar to Ambien, and like she took it, and she said they live in like the woods in the Poconos. So like she was sleeping, and like in the summer, leave your windows up or whatever. And she said a breeze came through, and she felt like the curtain flow over her head. And then as it like kind of came back in, something sat on her pillow next to her head. And she's like, holy shit, like what is this? And then she said that on another occasion she physically felt like, she said it almost felt like a snake, and it was like slithering up the bed like by her legs, like up the sheets, and the bed started to shake. And she was like, is it the meds? And then she's like, but no, because then the next night, like she didn't take any sleeping meds. Like she was so terrified to go to bed. And she said it happened for like a week straight. Like weird stuff was going on. And I was like, I just thought it was funny that you said that, because that was a theory that she had. And she was like, is it the meds, or like, is it being more susceptible?
I think it might be like being more susceptible because I had some really, and it's just too much to even talk about right now, but like I had some really weird stuff happen to me when I was on Ambien, like full on conversations with like loved ones that had passed that were standing
Really?
right in front of me, clear. Like I'm like getting choked up talking about it. Like my grandfather standing clear as day right in front of me carrying on a conversation with him and remembering it the next day.
Wow.
And I just feel like those drugs alter. And like, look, I'm not like a prude. I drink, I'm not opposed to, smoking or drinking or anything. But um, I do think that even drinking can sometimes like make that veil so thin to where you are more susceptible because maybe your brain chemistry is altered a little
Well, I'm
bit.
thinking like lucid. I mean, when you think of like just what I know about astral traveling, like I mean, it's a lucid state. It's a state of being vulnerable. And I mean, when you calm that like very cognitive side of your brain, and you kind of have that, I kind of call it like loosey goosey, like yeah.
Yes. Well, that's like people who have done DMT. And when they get done
Oh, what's
taking
DMT? I'm
DMT,
such an old lady. What is DMT?
no, it's like
That's
I
not
don't
like
know.
bath salts, is it?
No, it's like a natural. It's kind of like I think it's kind. See, and someone else will probably know way more about it than I do, but it's I think it's natural. I think it's kind of like ayahuasca, if you've heard about that.
Oh, I have heard about ayahuasca.
Yeah, but like
Okay.
pretty much everyone who does DMT, they say
Don't
that
they
they
do like a drug therapy like that? And because I think my
yeah,
best friend's mom, the book that she wrote, in the book, my best friend Dylan that had passed away, he went to, I think it was Mexico, when
yeah,
they did like ayahuasca treatment or something like that.
they do there, they do Peru. There's even a couple places in the United States that do it. And I haven't heard as much with, I'm sure you do with ayahuasca as well, but people who have done DMT, they say that when they are in that state, that they pretty much like see all the answers. Like they see like fairies that come to them and tell them things, and that they basically see like all the truth about everything they've ever been wondering, and basically that they're never the same again. And
I don't know how I'd
yeah,
handle that. Like
like
I feel
part
like
of me
I'd
is
be like,
curious.
yes, give me some answers, but then I'd be like, oh, like I don't want answers to that. I'm not
Exactly.
ready
They
for
say
that
that like
just yet.
opens your third eye or whatever. They say it like opens your
Oh.
pineal gland or your third eye, so you're able to kind of like see the truth. And I'm like you, like I'm curious, but I don't know if I want to know the truth. Like this world is fucking crazy. Like I don't know if I want to know everything. Like I believe in aliens. I believe in shapeshifters. I believe that woman on the plane probably did see something. I don't
Oh,
know.
we were just talking about that. I literally just told that so I do a new, like, if you see my Sunday segment that I started with Kurt. So
Yeah.
Kurt lives in Teos, New Mexico. So like he like is like, dude, I've experienced such crazy things. And I told him, I said, have you seen that new thing with the lady that was on the plane? I was like, what do you think about that? And he's like, no, I didn't hear about that. So I was like, ooh, okay. So I sent it over to him, and so he was kind of like digging into it, and I'm like, dude, I don't know, like I believe, like, it's so hard for me to discredit people because like once you see weird stuff, you're like, okay, I know it's out there.
Yeah, and not only well, I'm mixed between two things. I think she either did see something, or I think that it's a distraction, because I feel like every time something big comes into social media, the submarine, just those big like viral stories, I feel like it's almost always a distraction for something like bigger that's going on behind the scenes. But that's my conspiracy theorist brain at
Oh
work
Lord,
because
I don't know if I can physically handle anything bigger. I'm like, I'm still reeling my shit in from COVID. Like, I just lost 2 years there. I'm still trying to figure out the
right,
date. I'm like, is it Wednesday? Is it?
I still feel 24. In my head, I'm still 24. Like I am not, there's no way I'm 28 years old. Like I still feel 24. And that's another really weird thing. Like, did we all just like time travel? Like what happened
I
in those
literally,
2
that's what I say. Like, I'm like, I feel like those, and I don't understand it because it's like those 2 years. It was 2 years. You wouldn't think that like 2 years would like just derail you so bad, but it's
years?
like I'll try and recall something and I'm like, wait, was that 2000 like 16? Was that 2000?
Yeah,
No. And I'm like, no, I
like
think
our
it was
own kids'
19. And
birth.
I'm like, why are all my years jacked up?
Yeah, it's 100%. And then like it's just a I feel like ever since COVID, and like you can tell me what you think about this too, like I feel like people are just different now. Like I don't know if
Yeah.
we're all just stressed and we're all just, you know, I don't know if we've all just been through so much shit these past few
We're
years.
just we're just what's that saying? It was like I'm some sort of mentally deformed pigeon or exhausted
Yeah,
pigeon.
exactly. Like something, I don't know if it's that, or I don't know if like some weird switch happened and we like switched. I'm like deep into conspiracy stuff. I don't know if we like went into another dimension.
Did
I
you
don't
hear
know.
that?
No, what was it?
I don't know. I feel like this happened to me yesterday, and I'm like, my like microphone just like spazzed out. It was like, bzzz. I was like,
Probably
hello?
because we're talking about conspiracy stuff. I feel like in
The
some of the
aliens are tapping
podcasts,
into my headset again. I'm
I
like,
feel like in
oh,
all the podcasts I watch, anytime they ever start talking about like government, stuff like that, I feel like the electronics always like go haywire and mess up. So
my FBI agent is pissed right now.
yeah,
He's like, damn it, Morgan.
my FBI agent probably hates me. He's probably like, this bitch is fucking out there. She's wild. But yeah,
Oh,
there's so much, and we'll definitely have to like talk more about it another time. But like I just don't know what's going on with the world. I just feel like people have lost it. Like it's something weird's going on. Like it just feels off ever since COVID.
I literally have said this numerous times on this podcast, and I probably will say it until the day that I die. Every time that like I just look around at the world, I feel like I'm living little Nicky. Like I'm like who the fuck let Cassius out of the bottle and he's fucking up our planet, because I'm like, what is happening? Like I just don't understand. Like I feel like these two brothers are running amok, and I'm
Mhm.
like, where is little Nicky with his shovel face to like get us out of this mess, because I'm sick of it.
Girl, sometimes I feel like we're living in the Truman Show. Like I feel like people are up there and they are just like dying laughing at us. They are like, this world that we're like orchestrating is crazy
It is
because
crazy. It's like,
there's so much weird shit happening between the aliens. More and more, I don't know, I'll send it to you later and you can look at it. But there was another guy a few weeks ago that freaked out on a plane saying that he saw a lizard person. And
let me tell
more
you
and more
something. I'm about to
people,
go on a cruise and I have to fly. And if I see a freaking lizard person, I can't even talk. I'm about to have a lisp right there. If I see a lizard person on my flight, 10 toes down, I'm throwing hands.
yes,
Like,
oh, if it was me on that plane, honey, you don't have to say it twice. I'm running. Oh, you saw something, I saw it too. We're running off together because you're saying we're all gonna die. I am not staying on that plane. I
I
am
would be
not.
like picking up my carry-on. I'd be like, you know what? $500. We can make that another day. Not a big deal.
Girl, I'm off that flight. I'm like, I will drive. I will take the next one. I will take a train. I am not riding on a. I've seen Final Destination way too many times. I know how the story ends.
No, no. Final Destination honestly ruined my entire life.
Oh, I
I
can't drive
literally
behind a
missed
log truck anymore.
that. I
Like,
was just gonna say, I was literally going to Dover and there was a log truck, and I was like, I'm just gonna miss this exit. I was like, I'm not getting off on this exit because so I literally did. I drove all the way down past, I had to drive. So it was like the last exit that you can take before you have to do the tolls. And I was like, well, we're doing easy pass today because I was like, I'm not getting crushed by a freaking 200-pound fucking log.
well, the other day, a ladder in Georgetown, I was driving and a ladder flew off the truck in front of me. And
Are
I
you
was in this
serious?
lane and he was in this lane and it flew off. And if I would have been in that lane, like I definitely would have died because we were all going like 50, 60 miles an hour. And then all of a sudden
Girl,
you see him like putting it in reverse on the highway, running it back. I'm like,
put it in reverse,
That's what he was doing. That's what I told my husband. I said, he put that bitch in
Tear.
reverse real fast. He said, y'all aren't going to sue me today. But like, sir, you got to start
Man.
locking your shit down. Come on.
Seriously. Oh my gosh, that's like a nightmare. Meanwhile, I'm over here like shedding tears over the fucking truck that kicked up a small pebble and cracked my windshield.
That just happened to me the other day too. Like,
I feel
I'm
like it's a
still so
Delaware
mad about
thing.
it. It
Like
is because it
I've
never
never done.
happens
I'm
in Tennessee.
right. I never, and I'm like, I am born and bred Jersey. That is the craziest fucking driving planet, like on the
It is.
universe. Like
It
it is
is.
insane. I've never cracked a windshield. I moved to Delaware. I blew multiple tires on my Subaru, cracked my windshield. I had a rock kick up and chip my paint. Then I got my RAV4, cracked 3 windshields.
Yep.
Then I got my
Sounds like that.
Highlander within like a week of having it, cracked my windshield, then cracked it again the next day. And I'm like,
Girl,
it's
damn, that's
bad. And
crazy.
I'm
That
like,
happens to
this is
Matt
why I
all the
can't.
time. Like that
It's
shit
these
happens to
stupid
Matt.
little rocks. Literally,
Exactly.
it's so dumb.
I'm just convinced I have like a curse on me or something. I feel like I have like the worst luck ever. I'm
Maybe
totally
we need a
convinced.
cord cutting. Maybe that's what we
I
need to do.
get my hairdresser in here. She apparently does that shit all the time. So shit, we'll have her do a cord cutting ceremony and get
We
well,
can we should do it on a podcast episode.
I
We'll
would
do
be I've
like a
never done it before.
I've never done it. I just know of it. Like I know a lot about it. But like I've always wanted to do it. And I was supposed to do it, I think before COVID.
Well, maybe
And
maybe COVID wouldn't have happened. We'll
oh
have
my
to try it now
gosh.
and see if we can like my a really weird thing really quick is my dad's who I've told you before I'm not super close with, but his dad was having an affair in New Orleans with like a voodoo priestess.
I was just gonna
And
say,
yeah, and he got her pregnant, but she told him you can either stay with me and have this baby or leave your wife and stay with me or go back to your wife and I will curse your family for generations to come. And he went back to his wife and
what is she like, Madame Zeroni? You're gonna have to carry like your fucking grandma up like a mountain to break the curse. Like, I don't
like
understand, dude.
let me go get that bitch. I'll carry her up the mountain. I'll throw her on my back because this curse is getting out of control. My luck is too bad. Like all of us have the worst luck. And of course, like don't want to say that because like we are blessed. Like I'm blessed to be healthy. I'm blessed to have my family, I'm blessed for all that. But still, we all have some crazy shit happening that has been happening my whole life that like no one else has ever had anything like that happen to them. So I'm like something either we're just the most unlucky people in the world or we have a serious curse on us because he
It's
fucked
funny
that
because
voodoo
like
priestess.
the more that I talk to you, I'm like, okay, I totally see why the universe aligned and like made us friends because like never in a million years when I first met you at that Phoenix class
Oh
did
my
I
God.
think that like this is who you were and like I love you so much more now that like I know who you are because like at first when I met you, I was like, oh, I'm kind of like I feel like I'm a freaky freak and I'm like you just seem so like nice and like so not that you're
Oh,
not nice, you're still nice, but I mean like you just seem so like like southern charm like that just like you just seem so sweet and like untainted and I was like I'm like a foul-mouthed like ugly little
I'm
goblin
tainted.
creature.
I'm tainted.
And
Something
I'm like
something's not right with me, girl. I'm telling you, I'm fucking tainted.
no, you are
So
perfect. You are literally perfect. But I was like, like how like if you go to the park with your kids, you can always scope out like the moms that are like your peoples. And
100%.
I was like, now that I know you, I'm like, oh, Megan is totally my peoples. I'm like, because I'm
That's why we
like, we can
connected
hang.
so well. It's hard to believe that was like 3 years ago.
See, and the COVID times got me messed up because I'm like, really?
I know it feels like that was just yesterday, but Mason was like 2 or 3
That's
months old
right. He was a
because you were
baby.
super pregnant. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. That's
Because I remember
right.
you were like due and because I think it was like around December. So you were
That's
due in just
right.
a
I
couple
met you when I
months.
was like, we were doing that crazy ass workout and I was like ready to bust a lung. Like,
I know, but I was like so impressed. I was like, this girl, I have no excuse. This girl is here like 8 months pregnant, fucking getting it. So I got to get off my fat ass and work out. If she can come here and do that shit 8 months pregnant, I was like, you were my inspiration.
oh, dude, I was fighting for my life during that class. I was just like, I was like, I felt like there was a couple people hyping me up, and I was like, all right, even though I feel like I'm gonna throw up right now, I gotta keep this moving because like
Yeah,
I have
shout
a
out to Renata. She had our ass going.
shoe. It was rough,
I
but
know. I need to go see her soon and get some shakes.
yeah. So I haven't had. I had a tea not too long ago. I went to like that. Is it New You?
Yeah, the one in
Yeah.
Milford.
Yeah. Yeah. We need to. So it's funny because I was actually thinking about you today because I was like, now that like I'm kind of getting further into the podcast, I'm starting to look at just how to like immerse myself more in like traveling, like going places, kind of planning stuff, and like, oh, you're fine. You're fine. Literally when I was on here with Rachel, Peach joined in. It's not a big deal. But yeah, I was like, you can
He's
unmute
like
yourself.
wrecking the whole like
Hi,
corner.
Mason.
Say hi. He said hey.
But yeah, so like we have to like Two Girls, One Ghost. They just announced that they're gonna be at the Conjuring house. I don't know like if I could do that yet. Like I feel like I'd have to like build up the courage, but like I kind of want to explore a little bit and like
Do a
do
road trip.
yeah,
Go to
yeah.
we should go to Salem.
I do love Salem. Salem was a lot of fun.
I want to go back. Well, I am going back to Salem in October, but then another place I really want to go to is New Orleans.
Oh, New Orleans is I've heard it's a lot of fun, but I've heard that like you got to be careful.
You do. And I went a very, very long time ago. I was like 14 though.
Oh,
Because New
girl.
Orleans from Tennessee is like 6 hours, 7 hours. So I went and it was kind of like right after Hurricane Katrina. Not
Uh,
right after, but like 4 or 5 years after. So like there was shit boarded up on the windows and like it was really sad. So I was like, I am never coming back here. I was like,
yeah.
whoever put that spell, because like the whole reason I want to go there is because I want to learn more about like the voodoo stuff. Like I want
Yeah.
to there's like a really cool museum there, and then there's like a museum, a pharmacy museum, and just all kinds of like really spooky stuff. So like I really want to this October, I'm gonna be somewhere new like every weekend.
Well, anytime you need a partner, just let me know.
Please, please come.
I was like super excited because I just got this bad boy and I like wanna oh, why is my background not what really? How do I okay, there we go. There we go. Okay. I was like, why is this not working? So I got this and I'm not
I was at
sponsored
like
by
the
GoPro, but I was I
yeah.
was really excited because I got the new GoPro and I mainly got it because I have the old GoPro. But I got it's the creator edition, so it's got like a really cool like setup to it, but it has like the stabilizer. So like if I want to do podcasts now and do them like in cool like spooky places,
Yes.
then I have something now. If the ghosts
Ooh.
don't drain my battery, then
We
it should
should
be
do
good.
like a road trip series where we go from like Pennsylvania to Salem to Sleepy Hollow, Connecticut.
I'm so
I'm scared of the
down.
Conjuring House too. Like that shit scares me. But there's
It,
like Mason's working out.
oh, he's working on his fitness.
But yes, like I really would love to do that. Like that shit would be so fun because we go every year, but with Mason, it's hard to do everything I really want to do because obviously he's not going to give a shit about the
Yeah.
Conjuring House or the mansion in Sleepy Hollow.
Well, if there's like a weekend where somehow we can convince the men with like copious amounts of beer and like
Yeah,
homemade food that we leave in the fridge, we should do like a girls trip. I feel like we
we
need some just
should.
like mommy time.
I would be elated. I don't think I've had a girls trip in other than going to DC for a night. It's been like a couple years since I've had like a good
Oh, so
girls
we have to
trip.
do it then. So this is okay. So we're gonna plan this as soon as
I'm down.
like well, maybe not like as soon as we hang up on the Zoom, but like we will literally plan this because like I want to go somewhere really bad. And like I feel like I'm like so happy that I have spooky friends. Like if I didn't like come out of my spooky closet, I'm like I feel like not a lot of people would have known that like I'm a spooky gal. So I'm like excited that I have some like spooky friends now that are also sharing in my spookiness. Now we can do some fun stuff. He's like,
Yeah.
happy birthday.
He's so hyped. So I'm glad that he waited till the end though to start acting so hype. Yeah, he doesn't go to bed till like 10 or 11. So
That's all right.
he's in
That's
it
all
for the
right.
long. But yes, 100%. I would be totally, totally down for that. That would be so much fun. And Matt, and I know you're Matt too, like I'm sure they would keep the kids willingly and let us have like a nice weekend.
Yeah, I think they would. So we'll have to plan it. But we will definitely, I mean, for listeners, just stay tuned because we'll have a lot of really fun stuff coming up. Um, we'll pick out some destinations. And if you don't follow me on Instagram, Instagram is, I think it's the underscore ghoul friend underscore hour underscore. But if you search up the ghoul friend hour, I think it should come up.
Yeah, and like if people have any suggestions for like places on the East Coast we should check out that's like spooky and fun, like please let us know because that would be so fun to like have a list and
A
just
like a
like
bucket, like a listener bucket list. That would be cool.
yes, please let
Okay,
us
so
know.
I'm gonna post that on my Instagram. So stay tuned on my Instagram. I'm gonna post like an option for a listener bucket list, and then we will make that our girls' weekend road trip. I think that
Please.
sounds
That
like
sounds
really
amazing.
fun.
I think we would have like the absolute best time ever. So I'm so excited.
Me too. I'm really excited. But thank you for being
Thank
on today. I'm glad we got
you.
to talk about some spooky stuff.
Me too.
So my little end of the call ritual is I usually say, until next time, let's get weird. So I always ask for my peeps to join in so we can close it out. All right. So on the count of three, 1, 2, 3. Until next time,
Next time.
let's get
Weird.
weird. All
Thank you for
right.
having me, girl.
Yeah, thanks for being on.
Of course.
And we'll talk to you soon. And like I said, stay tuned for our road trip.
Yes, say bye, Mason.
Bye, Mason.
Say bye-bye. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.